Hey YouTube, and welcome back to Taylor Legacy MTB. Just to give you a brief on my background here, I just recently started getting into mountain biking. I bought my first mountain bike a little over a week ago. It's a 2020 Kona Hanzo, and I absolutely love it. Less than a week after purchasing it, I had met up with my brother-in-law down in Southern Oregon. We went to Bandon, Oregon for the day, and we hit up the Whiskey Run trail system. After my first experience, I absolutely fell in love with the sport and continuously loving it more and more every day. The same day after my first run down at Whiskey Run, I went and bought a Hero 7 Black. And after putting together a couple of my first test videos, I loved the 7 so much that I had to go return it and get the 8. So here I am opening up my Hero 8 Black for the first time. Haven't really used it yet. I did run through some of the settings and, format it, get it put together. So I didn't have to go through all that junk here during the video. But just kind of unpackaging it, going through it with you guys, and kind of sharing with you what I know so far. So here it is, the GoPro Hero 8 Black. So first of all, this was the bundle package. Came with a few goodies, charging cable, of course, 32 gigabyte SD card. Came with a curved mount adhesive with the mounting clip here. Came with a spare battery, the mounting tool. Inside here is the handler. It's the floating handheld device for swimmers, which I will be using in the near future. So here's the camera itself. Just kind of going to go over some of the basics so far from what I've discovered. Some of on the exterior, some of the main differences between the 7 and the 8 is that the 8 no longer has the removable lens. So if you're out riding with the 7, if you got a scratch or a crack on your lens, you could easily just twist that off, pop it off, and replace it for like 10 or 20 bucks, depending on if you have the GoPro Plus or not. So that's one thing that GoPro did, was remove that. They do say that it's 2 times thicker and stronger than the glass on the Hero 7. That being said, I haven't used it, so I haven't really got to test that out. I will be putting on the protective suit, or the protective case, the clear one. I know that it's meant for divers, but it's just some peace of mind in the back of my mind that I won't be damaging my GoPro if I crash or when I crash. Some of the other features that I've noticed are different is the power button is now on the left instead of the right. The shutter is still on the top. They did away with having 2 doors. Before, you had 1 door. I believe this is on the bottom for the battery and the micro SD card. Now there's only 1 door on the side, which you just flip this switch down here, pop it out, and you can even pop it off. So now you have your charging, you have your battery, and you have your SD in the same slot here. And to pop that door back on, you can see that there's a little groove there. It catches this bar, pops on, flips down, locks up. Pretty simple. The other cool thing that they did was, instead of having that bulky frame on here now, they have these little flip down fingers, which I see a lot of other reviewers talking about how flimsy they are. Yeah, if you're going to hold it on here and you're going to move it in your fingers, your fingers are soft to the touch, so it's going to be a little bit flimsy. I did put this on my helmet mount, and it's actually pretty solid. And then I actually just got my GoPro chesty in the mail a couple days ago. Mounted that on there as well, tested it out, and it's pretty solid, so I'm not too concerned. If these were to ever break, they are replaceable. Again, I think it's like $10 if you have the GoPro Plus membership. You see the 4 screws here, pop that out, pop the new one on, and you're good to go. So some of the other cool things I've noticed too is the additional microphones. There's a mic on the front, there is a mic on the side, and there's also a mic on the bottom here. So just another one of those cool little features here. So what my favorite thing about the fact of not having to have that frame anymore is when you have a dead battery and you need to switch out your battery and you're on the go. So you're out in the middle of a trail. Well, before, you'd have to break down the frame, pop the camera out of the frame, and swap your batteries out. Now, it's as simple as having the option to just flip this door open, swap the batteries. Though, like I mentioned, I will be putting the protective case on this, I'll be going through the same motions as well as of having the frame from the 7, but not a big deal. That being said, let's talk about some of the accessories here. We were talking about the batteries before. From the research that I've gathered, the black batteries from the past models will work on the GoPro Hero 8 Black. The blue and the black both have 1220 milliamp hours, so they have the same amount of battery life, but the blue bottoms put out a little more juice to support that Hyper Smooth 2.0. So that being said, you can use the black batteries in the GoPro Hero 8 Black, but the black batteries will not support the Hyper Smooth 2.0. So if you're not going to use that, then not a big deal. You can use your old batteries from the past. If you plan on using the Hyper Smooth 2.0 frequently, then so be it. You need to get some of the blue batteries. So fortunately, this camera with the bundle package came with 2 batteries. I plan on getting probably 2 or 3 more, and I'm going to get one of the bulk chargers. So that way I know that I'm never going to run out of juice when I'm, on the trails or out and about riding around town. So that being said, let's go ahead and turn on the camera here. Hopefully I got some battery. There, it kicks on. So the display on the front is going to be very similar, if not the same, as the Hero 7 Black, where you can read your resolution, your frame rate, wide, linear, super mode. You got your battery life, and then how much footage you have left to record. So let's go over some of the settings in here. Right now you can see that I have boost turned on the Hyper Smooth 2.0. With this particular setting, it's telling me that I can only have boost on. You can go over here and you can run slow-mo, which is pretty cool. Turn that on or off. Down here, you got your lens type, where you got super view. It's going to give you that really distorted view, kind of looking around the real fisheye look. Wide view, I typically run on wide view. My first 2 videos on the 7 Black, I used wide view. I just like having that little extra range of visibility on my footage, where here you got the linear, which is just straight up standard framing, and then you have the narrow, which is just going to be a little more zoomed in. So let's jump back out of here. Let's go into the settings here. One cool thing that I like about the Hero 8, some people like it, some people don't. You're either going to love it or hate it. I happen to like it a lot. Is you got all these presets down here. So when we're going through and you want to switch it up, you got 2.7, 60 running in wide. Let's say you want to go do something different. You want to quickly change your settings. You can switch over to another setting and it's going to be different. This happens to be the same resolution and frame rate as the last, but this has super view, cinematic. So here you can see that the cinematic is running 4K, 30 frames per second in linear, and then you got the slow-mo running at 1080, 240 in wide view. But that being said, those are the presets that come downloaded on the camera out of the box, but you can add some more presets. So you can come down and you can check out, you got your mode, which we want to, for most people who are using the GoPro are going to run videos. You can come down and change your resolution and your frame rate. You got 1080, 2.7, and 4K. That being said, you can kind of switch it around. If we want to switch over to 4K, looks like we have the options of 24, 30, and 60 frames per second. In 2.7K, we got 24, 30, 60, and 120. 1080, we can use any frame rate speed. So we can go down to that super slow-mo. It's 8 times slow-mo. So let's go jump back to 2.7. Or no, let's do this. Let's go back to 1080, 240. Jump out of there. Then you can select your lens again. You got wide, super view, linear, or narrow. Let's stick back with wide. That's typically what I like to run on anyway. We've got the Hyper Smooth on. When you come in here, you got Hyper Smooth off, you got Hyper Smooth on, and Hyper Smooth 2.0 boost. It's going to give you the maximum video stabilization. It does crop out a little bit more of the footage, but not enough to to make you frown. You know, you still get some excellent footage, and there's excellent screen capture. But that being said, with this particular setting, low light and zoom's not available. You can come down here into Pro Tune. One new thing that the Hero 8 Black has is their bit rate. You can jump up to a full 100 megabits per second in 4K and 2.7 resolutions, which is pretty cool. So just gives you a better image quality. I haven't really messed around with some of these other stuff too much, so I'm not going to get into that until I do some more research myself. But the wind, I hear that's some people's favorite things about the Hero 8 is that the wind reduction is pretty impressive. So you got it on auto, which I hear does a great job being able to decide for itself how to filter out that excessive wind noise. You can turn it just flat on, where it's going to always cut out excessive noise, and then you can have that turned off to where you're going to pick up everything that the mic picks up. So we're going to leave that on auto, so that way we get to have maximum audio for what we want to hear, and then the camera will decide what's considered excessive noise, and it'll filter that out. So again, some more shortcuts down here. You can choose where you want the hyper smooth button, where we talked about here, boost only. Remember that in the beginning. So you can come back. Oop. So let's check that, and then we can name the preset. So you know, if you're going to be skydiving, I'm assuming mountain biking, which is really what I'm just starting to get into. Epic for whatever epic activities you're doing indoor. I don't really know who would use a GoPro indoor. I mean, I guess, you know, so it's got a purpose for some reason, right? You know, riding your dirt bike, motorcycle, race car, things like that. So anyway, so there's a bunch of different presets here. Let's just go with biking. You know, because like I said, that's kind of what I'm getting into. So I've got my bike preset now. So let's say, you know, I don't quite like it. I don't want to change it up. I can come in here, back into my presets, and I can edit that. So let's go back to 2.7, run 60 frames per second. Let's see. Okay, wide lens, hyper smooth is turned on boost. Okay, so here with running 4K and 2.7, again, now we have some additional settings with the hyper smooth 2.0. We've got hyper smooth off, on, high, and boost. So with just having the hyper smooth turned on, it's going to crop the wide lens by 10%. Again, that's kind of why I like running the wide lens instead of linear. That way, when you're running wide and you got your hyper smooth turned on, you know, it's going to crop a little bit, like I said, but you're still going to get more than what you would if you cropped out some of your linear footage. So with the hyper smooth turned on, you're cropping out 10%. Looks like the hyper smooth turn on high, it's going to be a stronger video stabilization, but it also still just crops 10%. You know, the hyper smooth 2.0 boost mode is going to have the maximum video stabilization, but with tight cropping. But like I said, if you run the wide lens and you got this boost turned on, you're really not missing out on much. So still here, I've got the bit rate turned on high. Not going to mess with any of these settings. The GoPro, the color mode set to GoPro, sharpness set to high, wind reduction set to auto, and so forth. Keep it at bike. There we go. So that being said, those are your presets right there. You know, a lot of the other same similarities with the past. You've got voice control, sound, forget what this one's called, quick capture, turned on or off. That's going to be for your quick 15 and 30 second captures. You got the screen lock, you got your rotation lock, so that way if you're rotating from portrait to landscape, you know, you can lock that, and now it's no longer going to rotate. So grid view, you can keep your grid view on or off. I like it on. Just kind of helps you set up your camera, your point of view a little bit better, a little bit easier. Again, preferences are going to be very similar. to the past model with the Hero 7 Black. You know, you swipe up again. Here's gonna be previous footage. Quick little video. So here's something that I discovered from the past. I'm gonna edit that out actually. So that being said, swipe left, swipe right, video, photo, then you got your time lapse, time warp. The cool thing about this one is that with the time warp and the time lapse, you know, the time lapse is going to be for still shots. So if you're running a time lapse video, this is typically when your camera is going to be sitting on a tripod and capturing, you know, your time lapse footage. So when you come in here and you go to change the settings, you got your resolution at 1080, wide lens, and then this is going to take pictures every 0.5 seconds. So this is going to be what I believe is the slowest time lapse. This takes a picture every 0.5 seconds, and it puts it together into a video. And again, the time lapse is going to be mostly for people who are sitting this thing on a tripod and taking a picture of the night sky, or in time lapse of the night sky, or traffic zipping by, or the clouds, or, you know, whatever. So, and then you got time warp, which is going to be, from my understanding, just a little bit faster. You know, you can adjust the speed here. You can have the time warp from slowest up to fastest. So with the fastest, what this is doing is taking a 5-minute recording and it creates a 10-second time warp video. So it's taking 5 minutes of footage and it's going to crunch it down into 10 seconds and make it go really, you know, really fast. So on and so forth. So again, I see a lot of people using the speed on auto and let the camera make the decisions for you, and it usually puts together some pretty good footage. That being said, you know, going to come back and let's jump back over to video. The voice activation still works the same. You can tell your camera to start recording, stop recording. You know, it's pretty phenomenal. Like I said, I had the Hero 7 Black for I think 5 days, and after, like I said, putting together just a couple videos, I loved it so much. You know, I decided that I really wanted to start getting into this and start getting into mountain biking, taking it a little more seriously, and just getting into this. So that being said, I hope that helps. I hope that kind of gives you some perspective on what you want to do. Like I said, I will let you guys know when I put together some footage from using this thing. And you know, with the coronavirus and everything going on, it's kind of hard to get around and go places. There's lots of trails that are shut down, but you know, there's always places off the grid that you can get to as well. And I've been kind of riding around town and putting together some of these other videos from around town here in Wilsonville, Oregon. So anyway, that being said, hope you guys enjoy the video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I will be putting out videos as often as possible, at least 1 or 2 a week. And then definitely every single ride that I go on, I will be capturing some footage and keeping you guys up to date. Anyway, thanks guys. One more thing that I wanted to add here. This is the 2020 Kona Hanzo that I just purchased a little over a week ago. You know, so far I'm in absolute love with this thing. I don't know all of the specs and, you know, everything on it yet. I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm brand new to this. I decided to go with a fairly or moderately high-end bike for my first bike. You know, I'm a bigger guy, and you know, my goal is to, you know, utilize this sport to get healthy, get in shape, and just become a better rider, and you know, more experience and do some more technical stuff as I grow and learn. And you know, just I wanted to make sure that I had a solid, sturdy bike that's gonna, you know, be high quality and really just kind of, you know, give me the ride that I'm looking for. So this is the 2020 Kona Hanzo. Pretty standard. This is not the deluxe model. This is just the standard aluminum Kona Hanzo. They're about $1,500 retail. If you've got the money, I recommend it all the way. I didn't go with a full suspension bike just because, you know, again, if I was going to get a full suspension bike, I'd want one of the best, and, you know, you're looking at $4 or $5 grand. But I feel like as far as hardtails go, this is probably one of the best out there. And again, like I said, I don't know all the specs on it, but I love it so far. This bike has been amazing. So everything's solid, sturdy, breaks down really easy. I can put it in the back of my car and go places. So anyway, 2020 Kona Honto.